Hey, how you doing? Today is going to be a good day for us to learn. Welcome back to our channel in carpentry. What we're going to be showing you today is framing layout. Very important. Everybody that's a carpenter really have to struggle in some way or form with really learning how to do layout. It's very important because layout is really the beginning stages of your walls being erected and putting together. If the layout guy is not sharp, he can mess your whole entire job up. He can have you waste materials. He can cut things too short. Here we're going to tell you and show you on our board here what layout is all about when it comes to framing your walls. As you can see, I have drawn out myself, I have drawn out a plan. Now, mind you, this plan is not from a book or anything like that. I just took it and came up with this plan on the wing and the fly because it's just the purpose of just showing you how layout works, okay? Layout can become very challenging for some jobs, especially custom jobs like $1 million homes, $10 million homes, where there's a lot of different things going on, where the lumber is very heavy and things are very busy. Wall heights are not the same height as a standard size house. Wall heights can exceed up to 13 to 18 feet in height. They can exceed 2x4 lumber to 2x6 to 2x8. I've seen walls that were very tall, 2x8, some 2x10, especially when you're dealing with a radius wall to give a certain look to the house in terms of some type of castle look. Okay, we've done a lot of those types of jobs in California. So here, this is all about framing layout, okay? And what we want to talk to you about is, as you can see, I have some different things here on this board. And what I'm addressing on this board when you lay out, and you can have an apprentice carpenter, because a layout man needs a team of guys to work with him, okay? He is instructing them on what's being done in terms of locations of your windows and doors. Very critical. They cannot be in the wrong location, because sometimes when you're dealing with structural things from an engineer, you have seismic engineering for certain types of hold downs and straps, like HD hold down, like you have 6, 8, 10, you have 12 HDs. They ran them from 2A HD, 4A HD, 5A HD, 6A HD, 8A HD. These HD hold downs have bolts going through lumber, 4x4s, 4x6, penetrating into the lumber at a certain distance, and they going down into the foundation, okay, with a bolt, okay, that may be S, and it may be a J bolt, it may be a Simpson HD, and it has a weird look as an S on the end of the bolt in terms of how the shape of that bolt is, and usually it can be like 2 feet long. I've seen them 3 feet long. They're going into the dirt, the foundation, and the foundation is grasping this and is holding this bolt down to keep uplift of your house lifting up off of its slab foundation. Okay, things are done different in California versus they are in the South. So we have some circle locations here. And as we have identified before, you should know these circle locations. If you've been following my channel, I hope you have. Okay, because you're going to be learning a lot. Okay, there's a lot to teach here. And I want to get this segment out the way because we also have to do the segment of the story pole, which is going to tell you the height of your headers. It's going to tell you the sizes of your top cripples, the size of your bottom cripples, the size of your subseals, SS, and this is the area right here. Now, this is the living room. I have 2 bedrooms. I have 2 closets back to back. It's not uncommon on a plan. I have a bathroom here, okay? This is a kitchen, which it may look pretty large. Don't worry about that. We're not even, just say you got a laundry room in it, okay? Your dining room, your hallway leading to your bedrooms, okay, and into your bathroom. You have your front porch that's leading into the front door. And I'm just giving you the specifics, your living room and all these different things so you'll know what you're looking at in terms of how plans are drawn. Kind of typical, right? So I want you to get used to looking at something like this. Now, plans get very creative and very overdrawn. And there's a lot of writing. And it's typed like writing. So things that's done today, plans are in black and white. Not the blueprint from back in the day where the paper was blue, the wall colors was white. Then they gravitated from that and it went to white paper with blue lines. I came in with the white paper and the blue lines, wall location. These are all wall locations, okay? You be familiarized with the wall location because this is how this building is going to snap out when it comes to layout. You have to snap out all these wall locations. You first start with your perimeter and you're going to snap a 3.5-inch line. But before you do that, you need to check the square of your concrete. You need to check your distance from here to here to see whether the concrete guy, if you didn't do the foundation, is adhering to the plans. That needs to be on point. It can't be short because you may have trusses on this that's engineered, that's already pre-built to a certain size. If the concrete is a little over, that's better than being under because you can chip concrete away. It's not going to affect it, and then you can come back and float it out and make it look good and smooth. Okay? You want your perimeter snapped first, all the way around on how you see it on this building. I have no measurements on this building. It's the reason why. We're not dealing with that. I dealt with that in another video. Okay? Today we're dealing with layout. So with layout, there's bubbled circles here. These are channel locations which we went over before. Very important. I need these channels to be marked out first. Every wall that is snapped and plated, because you have to plate it. Okay, you have to plate this just like this so you can mark out where your windows and your doors, and you can mark your layout for all your studs. You can mark out all the locations where all your walls are intersecting. Intersecting means the wall is butting into this wall on the perimeter. 3 stud channels. This is a wall channel, okay? This wall channel now, you have to remember when you do the layout, you're marking, most of the time your wood is going to be marked in black crayon, okay? Because it's easier to see. Wood is light in color. You want something that's going to really look for the layout marks. Seeing some guys do it in red. Usually on concrete, this is done with a red marker so it can highlight and be seen. It is also done with a black crayon or black marker, okay? A big, thick, nice marker. Not no skinny marker, not nothing like this. They sell thick markers, big markers, because you're gonna need that. This is big construction, okay? This is not a doghouse or a dollhouse, okay? Okay, there's some things that we need to point out. There's no windows here. I'm showing no windows and I'm showing no doors. Why? It's because I want you to focus on laying out your wall with your studs. Your studs, your channels, they need to be marked first. First, your channels. Mark all your channels. He's going to keep the guy, you as the lead carpenter are going to keep your guys busy by letting a guy go out and mark all your intersecting wall channels. That's just like here. That mark is laid out just like this. What he does, he comes in, he takes that location here, the location here, or the location here, but mostly intersecting walls. These are corners. These corners are the 3 studs, okay, that's combined together to make up that corner. And they're stitch nailed together. The outside studs stitch nailed into this inside middle stud. Like stitch nailing is like a pattern. Going at every angle like a stitch, a sew stitch. At least 8 to 10 inches, you want that stitch nail. Okay, some guys don't adhere to that. I really need you to pay attention when you read the blueprints. Go to the general notes in the beginning. Each part of the plan in the floor plan, and this is a floor plan, have notes. Sometime at the top corner, at the bottom up underneath. Read everything. Do not think that because you did Joe Blow's job from the last project or projects you've been doing for the past 10 years are going to be the same. Don't do that. Engineering changes. You know, plans change. There are new codes implemented in framing like at least every 2 to 3 years. So you need to read this. You take this home. You study this. You mark it up. We'll get into that later, how you mark up a set of plans. But right now, you see how I mark this up. So it gets crazier than this. And it gets a lot of, it's chaotic. And it's only for the person that knows how to read this and is experienced by and taught by someone such as myself and other masters that can teach you and guide you through the plan reading process. This is the plan reading process for framing. Okay? Out of all your channels, the marks for your channels are going to always be marked like this. That X represents this stud here, that stud there. This stud here, that's flat, you're going to put a line just like that. This is the layout, okay? This is what you're going to mark on the face of your plate. The plate that's facing down, not the edge part. We're going to show you, you have to mark over from the top and over. You sometimes want to mark outside and inside. I do both. Because your framer, he needs to be seeing how he's framing this wall. Remember, this is reading. And this reading has to be understood by the framer. Because the framer may not know how to do the layout. He may just know how to frame. And a lot of you framers out there don't know how to do layout. You just know how to read layout. See, reading is fundamental. And you have to make sure you know how to read in order to frame. You don't have to know how to lay out, but you do know how to read. But layout is the basic principle. So we're going to start from our corner right here. We're going to pick this corner right here. And we got a 3-stud corner. 3-stud, okay? There's 2 other channels. There's one channel here that I have never introduced on any of my videos, and it's getting introduced today. And it's because of this wall location here. Oh, it's a special wall location. And this is a special channel. Because sometimes you see this in a closet setting or in walls that's back to back that's joining like this, okay? From this corner, as you can see, I have a layout, and it's going to say 16 and go. So you're going to hook from your corner 15¼ inches. That's going to be your first stud. 15¼ inches. Now, you take your measurement tape, and you're going to hook this. Usually I put a nail in the wood. I drive a nail in the wood, and then I hook that nail. That nail is hooked on this first layout. 15¼ Do that, please, because there's a method behind this science, okay? When you hook that 15¼ mark, which is your first stud, you're going to go 16 inches and go. 16. When I mean go, you can see my slash mark. I started with a little X, but my marker is so fat. Most guys do a layout. This is what they do. Okay? That's a layout mark. Here's mark a line. That X is where the stud go. It goes next to this line. The stud is on top of that line. The same with the floor joist. Now, if he doesn't put an X, this is another sign of another mark for a stud to go. The slash. Okay? That means the stud goes to this side of the line. Sometimes you can have it like this. That means there's a double. And if there's a measurement called out for this double, that means there is a double that is centered. This will be a center mark, which means there must be a wall upstairs. Layout is important. Okay? Same with this. It could be that as well. Those guys need to know that when they're framing. As a framer, you need to know these different symbols. And we're showing you them today. Okay? So we're hooking going from 15¼ 16 and go all the way across. All the way across. Do not stop. Now you're going to come into some traffic. And it's getting ready to be a little heavy here. And the reason why is because you have these channels here. You have 6 studs within like a 4-foot span. 4 feet is not a lot of speed, so there's a lot of meat over here. There's a lot of traffic with these studs because of this channel here. And see, this channel takes up a lot of space. You got 3½ plus 1.5 inches that's full That's 3.5 plus an inch and a half. That's 5 inches plus another inch and a half. You got 3.5. Let's do this again. Let's do this math. 3.5 plus another inch and a half. Inch 3.5, 4.5, 5 plus another inch and a half would be 6.5 inches. So there's a 6.5 inch space that this channel takes up. And your 16 and go, you're going to run into that. Now, mind you, this is where you can eliminate. You cannot eliminate a channel. If a stud runs too close, you can eliminate that stud. But let me tell you something about eliminations of a stud that is been hooked from the 15.25 inches. Shear panel, plywood on your exterior is going to catch half on every 4 foot. At every 8 foot, it's going to be half on the stud. So that when that shear panel or that plywood butts each other, you have nailing on both sides from that one stud for your plywood because it's butting together. And that stud is in the middle of it. And it's 1.5 inches. So there's 3/4 of an inch of meat on each side for that shear panel to butt up against and nail. Now, mind you, we don't like to butt shear panel or plywood directly against each other. Why? Why would you not do that? Put like an 8-penny nail in between after you put your first sheet up. You want a gap, a little spacing, because and when weather rains, wood swells up, expands, okay? When it dries, it shrinks. If you go through these weather stages in certain climates of the country, you're going to come back the next morning and your plywood panel is going to be buckled. You're going to see that it didn't swell up because of the waterlog, and it didn't started binding against itself, and now it's the membranes on the plywood that's glued together are going to start buckling and rippling, and now that plywood sheet is going to be no good. Always a space in between your shear panel, and your shear panel is going to run very smooth all the way through. If unless there's something special happening because of this channel here, you always want you to be on that 16. And within this space right here, 4 foot, it's something gonna still catch. And if it doesn't, it's no harm in putting another stud next to one of these, okay? Or on the inside, in between the wall. There's no harm in it. It may be that's too much wood. I'm trying to save money. Look, you want your nailing for your plywood on your outside to hit dead center on your stud, no matter what. You don't want to be cutting no plywood until you get to your end, okay? That's the only cut. If that end winds up being 3'8", guess what? You only got a 3-foot rip of a strip of a piece of plywood. Now, mind you, you do not cut a strip of plywood under 32 inches. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. No, pay attention. Okay, pay attention. Why? It's because there is a factor that is required with shear panel. 32 inches to me is the minimum. I'm not doing 2 feet. Some people can say, okay, well, that suffice. An engineer may say, okay, we can go 2 foot because it's half a 4 foot. You go 20 inches, you need to be with the thick upside your head. Don't do that. I've seen jobs where framers put an 8-inch piece of plywood on their end. And this is a diaphragm type of shear panel nailing schedule. They show you on the plans, on the detail page, where your shear panel, how it's supposed to be nailed. Shear panel creates a diaphragm so your wall won't move or shift. You got pieces in there. You create like a hinge action. You creating a folding effect. Nothing stays together solid. All this is solid. 16 and go. From hooking from your 15.25. Remember, when you hit this corner and book this corner, same thing. Because this side represents by itself. Same thing at the bottom. I did continue the layout, okay? But let me tell you something. How I like the layout is because of the way the shear panel is going. This side is independent from that side. But I know guys that like to do pretty work and they'll carry and transfer this over to here and let this layout run the same way here. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to remember how your shear panel and where you started from when you do that. I suggest that when you're doing shear and you require for shear, take this wall individually and do your 15.25 from this first stud here going to the outside. Or from your outside, 15 1/4, and doing the same principle here. Same thing going this direction. Notice how I pointed in a direction. I pointed in the direction for this layout because I wanted this layout to travel the same way this layout was over here. I wanted it to look uniform. You know what I mean? That's just me, okay? But guess what? When it comes to these insides of these studs here, you want the same principle to occur. You want to take your first stud, go 15 1/4, then hook that 15 1/4 and go 16 and go, which means the go is on this side. The go is on this side. No confusion here. Let me erase that. Let me erase that. These are the marks for layout, okay, for your studs. You got the X, you got the slash. Remember those two marks. Either one of them suffice, and you should know your framing crew. The reason why I'm teaching this layout is because if you're a homeowner, you want to do your own thing, or if you're a contractor and you have not built anything and you paper pushing contracts and you come to the job site, this is a good course for you as well, because I'm going to show you, you pay attention to how your guys frame. You'll notice your lumber, how it's been ordered. You'll also notice, you know, if they framing unorthodox. Your framer looks out for your drywaller. That's why it's important to keep this framing layout schedule. The 15 1/4, hook that 15 1/4 and go 16 inches and go 16, 32, 48, and so forth and so on. And you have layout marks on your measuring tape that tells you every 16. The 16-inch layout ruler is highlighted, so you'll know. That's how these guys can go real fast. And then when you get a layout stick, it's silver in color, and it's designed to where you can put it on top of your wood, drop it down on the side of your wood, and you can mark and just keep going. That marks is just like this. This is another thing about the layout stick. That's the mark it gives and represents. So that means your stud is going to be in the middle. Each mark here represent, that's where your stud go, right there. Your stud outsides are out here where your mark is. That's the layout stick. It does that. There's no need to put an X when you see that, or a slash, because he's using a layout stick. And remember, always lay out your corners. You're gonna have this guy, your apprentice, gonna lay out all your wall channels. Okay, so the corner channel we showed you here, it's a 3-stud corner. We also have a California corner, which is an L shape. If you want to save money, you can use that California corner on corners like such as here. Okay, you can use it also on corners here. But most of the time, the 3-stud corners is suffice enough. And sometimes there's a block. And sometimes you have that 3-stud corner. That 3-stud corner is going to be marked out as such. Sometimes you see that slash here is because that represents a block. It's not a full length 2x4. It's a scrap of wood that's joined in between here, okay? And it's like, you want them at least 15 inches. Some will do 12 inches a foot. You have one at the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom, okay? Sometimes they be up a little bit, a couple inches from the bottom. As long as that wall is being nailed, that intersecting wall is being nailed to that channel, or then you're good. But the block, I like 18 inches. The better, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get in situations where you get in tight spaces. Tight spaces, you gotta have your nail gun, and you wanna shoot that wall when you start. And this wall here is gonna get laid out first for your closet, because the closet wall in the front here on both opposite ends just has a header and top cripples. You see here, this window has top cripples, header. The layout guy is going to tell you the length of your top cripples. He's going to tell you your header size and how long that header is going to be. I got a 4x6 by 133 inches. That's the cut length. The 8 1/4 for the top cripples is the cut length. If it's 6 1/4, if it's 4 1/4, if it's 2 1/4 or 2 1/2 or 2 3/8, that means the header is getting bigger. The shorter the cripple gets. The longer the cripple is, then you know your sizes go like 4x6, 4x4, 4x8, You know, we're going to show you how to get this size. Your bottom cripple, 44 inches. Your double sub seal, that's the window seal. I like to always do double. This, no more single seal. Cheat. Don't do that. Don't do that, please. Don't do that. Double sealing. Double sealing. It ensures a good amount of wood for your window to sit on and be nailed to, you know. So let's get to the special channel. It's a double. I got an asterisk. Well, it's supposed to look like an asterisk. That mark right there, I have an asterisk because this location is special. There is 2 walls that's coming into one wall. Believe that. And this is what that channel looks like. Woo, woo. Right here. It has, on your layout, it has the outside stud here, like a so. You have your stud here, like a so. You got the slash. When you see that double slash, that means it's 2x4s together, back to back like this. Because one is nailing for this wall here, and the other is nailing for this little short wall on the other side into one wall. Wow. Ooh. Ooh. You got to get that right. You got to get that right. Because this channel, don't forget, they could be 2x4 because it's 2x4 wall. It could be 2x6 because it's 2x6 walls. 2x8 because it's 2x8 walls. So forth and so on. Okay, so the double channel, that's the asterisk here. The layout, the 3 stud corners I've marked here. The front porch is at here. I did not put any numbers for the door, but this TC and this HDR stands for header. Header, top cripple. This is the example right here. We're going to go into this a little bit more in detail. I didn't give you a center mark. You don't see no windows. Don't worry about that. Because once the guy does the layout with the layout stick, that's another guy helping the layout man. The layout man is to train his crew on how to get ahead of him. Because when all this gets sticked, and we call that stick because he has a layout stick. When another layout guy sticks this and lays out all his studs, and you got a guy in front of him laying out all and marking all your channels for all the walls are, this thing is getting ready to come together. Then now the mastermind comes in, and him and another guy, they start pulling tape. They start hooking, getting center marks for the center of a door or center of a window. And remember, he's going off of centers. It's not telling you from here, from the corner to the window. No, it's giving you center locations every time. And there's a reason why that is. Because you're going to be going from one end of the window from the center to the other end to get your exact placement for this window location. Okay? Pay attention. All right? So, we didn't mark anything. And this is not going to be facing this direction. No, I did this for y'all. Okay? For y'all. Okay? But it's going to be turned the way the door is facing. Okay? All your layout marks and all your measurements for your cut list. This is the beginning of a cut list. There's a man. I used to be this guy. He cuts all the headers, all the top cripples, all the sub seals, all the bottom cripples. He cuts all that. All right. When I was doing subdivision, we had a radial arm saw. I was on it 8 hours a day. Okay. And I was cutting a whole track, subdivision, 20 houses. So just think, I had a list on what houses was what. I had pallets. And I had to stack up all my headers. This went to lot 21 or lot 6. Lot 6, plan 2A. Lot 7, plan 3C. Lot 1, plan 1A. So the letters after where the lot number is because whatever plan that is in that subdivision, now we're getting into this little something now. Okay, that number represents, okay, that floor plan. That letter represents the elevation that house has. 1A could also look like 2C. Okay, get it? But the floor plans are flipped. One floor plan, your bedrooms might be to your right. On the other one, in the 3C, it may be to your left. But they look different on the outside because 1A may have brick, but 3C may have siding and brick. 3C may have a porch that protrudes off with a roof that comes out, where, you know, you got little columns with bricked up around it with some posts coming up above the brick. And you may have your gable end or a gable end roof intersecting back into a wall from the second floor. Did all that. So we're going to be getting into that. I'm not a good elevational drawing, but when I do show you the plans that I do have and we go over that, when you're going through your layout, you want to make sure, know what the picture of this building look like on the elevations. Study your elevations. Elevation shows you your windows. Elevation shows you the heights. Every window should be the same height. Every door should be the same height. But there are plans where the front door exceeds the height, the minimum height of 6'8". All your headers are going to be cut at 6'10", 82 inches. Okay? And that's good enough for a 4x12. Anything like a 4x14, you cut the top plate and you just have a double top plate that goes over the top that it's nailed to. Now we're getting a little creative. A lot of guys don't know that. Keep your layout consistent all the way around for shear panel, okay? On the inside, like I say, keep it consistent. Make sure your direction for this wall here, your closet walls, even though it's just a header above, your top cripples are going to be on that layout that a wall is on. That gets laid out just like a wall, except there's an opening up underneath because there's a header that lets you walk through that opening. And that header could be 6 foot, 8 foot long, which the wall gives you access to go 8 foot or 6 foot into a space. That's the closet. Nowadays, you got a lot of walk-in closets. That's like regular doors, okay? So, with that being said, this would be your typical bifold door closet. If there is a large header, it could be typically, you got bifold, no pocket doors for no headers, okay? You're gonna have bypass, okay? And sometimes you can have a triple bypass. You can have mirrors. You might have one in here, and you might have two on the outside that bypass, but your mirror on the inside, on the front side, you have to go from one side to get to that side. You have to pull the mirror from the other side to get to that side, but everything is still in the middle because your third mirror is there. Is because you have a lot of space, and that track is a 3-track to hold the doors, okay? Especially mirror doors. Mirror doors are really nice too. You know what I mean? So, layout again, your front porch, your direction that you want to go for your framing. This is going the same direction as here. And the reason why is because my plywood is going to run to the end of this wall here. Can I do it different? Yes, I can. Can I pull the layout from here? Yeah, I can. And go the opposite way. But guess what? What about the drywall on the inside? Remember, we're thinking about the drywall. You doing it this way, he has his corner here, but it stops here 3.5 inches. Okay, so there you got to stud there because this is a channel. This is this 3-corner channel right here. So drywall is going to hit there. But guess what? If this is 12 feet on the inside, your drywall is going to work without having to have any cuts until you get to the end. Drywall guys going to love that. The builder's going to love it because you uniform. Everything's easy. It makes the job go smooth and run faster. You pick up a little pace, which means you have a schedule. There's a schedule for every job that you do. And the reason why that schedule is because you have that project where you have projected this is going to either be sold by this month or I'm going to be moving in by this month. You have dates lined up. You have your material ordered by the dates that they're supposed to be, delivered. This is construction is a very productive type of program job if you can coordinate it right. Coordination is everything. Big, massive scale jobs I've done, multi-family subdivisions, it's all scheduled meetings where everybody has to come to work. Everybody is expected to do their job. Contracts have been signed. You're supposed to start this day. You start receiving materials. You got to check off the materials that you receive. If it's a large job, you might want security there so things don't come up missing, especially during appliances. And then you're going to find out how different framing layout is on walls and joists, floor joists. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a master of floor joists. thanks to Charles McDowell, who really taught me how to joist, because when we get to the second floor, you have beams, micro-lam, LVLs, Versalams, glue lambs are starting to be played out a little bit, but all the lamb family, those are engineered beams, and they got to be set. They're going to either sit on a wall or they're going to sit in a pocket. Usually the ones that sit in a pocket are mid-span beams for your garage, because you have joists that's going to be resting on top of that. So you'll always see a beam in the middle of your garage that's drywall and boxed in, and because you have your floor joist or your ceiling joist up above that from your bonus room, that basically is sitting on top of that mid-span beam, because it's breaking up the span of the joist. There's some joists that can span 22 feet, 20 feet, 18 feet. Why? That means that joist is at a bigger size lumber. You can't span a 2x8 past 16 feet. I don't even think you can go 12 feet with half-inch drywall or 5/8 on it as weight factor. When you start looking at 16-footers, 2x10, 18-footer joist got to be 2x12. The 18-foot for a 2x12, you can go probably up to 20 feet with a 2x12. 22s, I did 22-foot joist. Yes, very heavy, 2x12. Carrying it on my shoulder and walking plate. Can't do that no more. Now you got to be tied off, roped off, and on a pole in case you fall. In California now they have, when you get up to all your walls being framed up, you have scaffolding all the way around, which makes it a lot easier, so then they come down on the price. The danger factor is not as bad when I was framing. You still have to walk these interior walls though. You're not going to get away from walking plate. That's for sure. You may have a harness on, you may have your rope tied to your harness. You still have to learn how to walk plate. That's only 3.5 inches wide. You got to have good balance. You're going to be up in the air 9 feet or 8 feet. You're going to be up in the air sometime when you get up to 2-story. You still got a floor, but guess what? If you're on the second floor and you look down, you up there like at least 18 feet, 14 feet. 8 feet, no, you 18 feet. You add the joist, 8 foot joist, another foot, another 8 feet. Say you 17 feet in the air. And then you got ceiling joists on top of that you got to stand on when you start framing your roof. So yeah, you up there 18, 20 feet. And you got to have good balance. And then I framed towers that were taller than the second floor because it had its own roof structure at the top. And it was like a octagon shape, some pentagon shape. The octagon was much more, in style. Then you had radius walls. You had the circumference of a radius of a circle, a half circle. And that framing was special advanced framing for your rafters, because every rafter you usually go every 8 inches all the way around. And then the sheeting on the top of that is not sheeted like it is for a regular roof. These are all special techniques we're going to get into. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something. This California channel, like I said, it's the L-shaped channel. You can save money on some walls on your interior. I would never use it for an exterior wall, because it's structurally sound. And also on here, you have to remember, you're going to also, that master carpenter that's laying out, the lead guy, he's going to locate all your posts, your 4x4 posts, your 4x6 posts. They go on the wall as well. And if they happen to be in an area where there is a stud, the stud gets eliminated. That takes precedence, because that post is going to be either king stud or it's going to be a post for a beam, a lamb, LVL, a Versalam beam. Those could be 4x12s, 4x10s. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that all your posts are marked at the location where your beams are for a second floor. Those beams represent where there's an area, and say for instance we have an open area here, and if I started joisting this, or if I had to joist this, I might want to start joisting this from here this way. Why? Well, because I'm looking at my span here. It's longer to go from here to here this way with the joist. And even though I haven't given you any numbers, you can just look at the difference between the length from here to here, then from here to here. It's a long distance. We call that a span, okay? So, in order for these joists to flow all the way through, there's going to have to be a beam set up somewhere, okay? See, I have this wall offset from this wall. So, these joists coming here, I might have a beam running across here, okay? That means there's a post on this end, a post on this side. There's a beam that sits on top of the wall and a strap strapping that beam on the face of the beam all the way down to the side of the wall where that post is. That strap hold that beam down. Now these joists, they're going to run from here to here. But when they get over into La La Land, where there's nothing there, they're going to have to go to the beam here. So these 5 or 6 joists are going to probably be like 4 to 6 feet longer than these joists here. And they're going to have to be cut. And then on this beam, you're going to have hangers where the joists butt into the beam, but they sit into a hanger. And the hanger is carrying the weight of that joist where you can walk on it. Building is creative. Building is so fun when you start learning all these different things. And then when you see the model that I got, we're going to go through, it's going to be fun, okay? And then if you want to order one of these models and I cut everything for you as a part of this class, and you taking on this class and taking me on as your professional instructor, you know, then you can erect this at your own house. Follow me through the videos. Call me when you kind of need some assistance on how to lay out. And it's a miniaturized scale model, okay? Concept and the principle is the same as building out in the big open land. You're not going to miss a step. You're just going to scale up the size. But everything is going to be practical for you because you're going to know all the steps. The story pole will be next, telling you the heights of your headers, how you get the size of your top cripples, how you get the size of your bottom cripples, how you get the size of your subseals. And I want you to stay tuned for that and follow me through these videos because it's going to be a very exciting time, you know. And what I'm giving here is a lot of information that's not really given in classroom settings because a lot of people, I've been so long into the field. I've been so long in the field that my knowledge is very, very valuable because I've been out there and I built customized homes. I built subdivision tract home. I built multi-family and I love it. The framing, the foundation, I love it. And the foundation is going to come a little bit later because I don't have enough room because that's another table I have to build. But you're going to be very interested in what we have to teach you and how we're going to go up to set you up and to grasping the knowledge that you need to know in order for you to construct as a framer and get layout to a science. The layout man is one of the most important guys on the job. You screw the layout up, it messes up the roof, it messes up the stairs. The stair guy can't do his thing. And these specific individuals, stair cutters, roof framers, and roof cutters, these are specialty trades that require mathematical skills and vision. And you have to have vision. Ordinary framing walls, you could teach anybody how to do that. You know what I mean? I can get some kids out of high school, and I would love to introduce this to a high school audience. I would love to introduce this to junior high, even with the model. You know what I mean? So if your school district is looking for a guy like me to come in and teach and train, hey, I'm willing for it. You know what I mean? Yes, I have everything down that I need to know to teach you, and how much it's going to cost. If it's a semester, you know, we can talk about that as well, you know, because I'm giving you some in-depth knowledge that you're going to just advance on a job site so quickly because you've been here in this classroom setting. And when you really start going into the heart of what I'm going to be teaching, I need you to follow me. You know, there may be some videos that may not interest you, but as a total package, you need the total knowledge. Sit there. When you go to class and you go to a classroom setting, you don't have the option to tell the teacher, well, I don't think I need this class. Everything that I'm teaching from every video that I have spawned here is very important and relevant. And you will find out there's gems in everything I'm teaching you about when it comes to framing. Thank you very much for joining my class. I'm Professor Instructor Derek Seals. I'm here to help you grow your knowledge as a carpenter from the master carpenter. See you later. See you on the next video.